What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of LBFT Season 2. This is episode 14 of LBFT Season 2. For this episode, we're going to be talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Denver Broncos game that happened last night. One of these Sunday night football games. For this episode, I want to make something clear before I get into the game, actually. I have not actually watched the game on TV. It's not because I didn't want to watch it, but because I was not able to watch it. I guess it sort of depends on which games that some company like DirecTV or whatever company it is that allows you to watch certain games or have you watch some certain games. Certain games that they would allow you to watch, and some other games that weren't allowed to watch. Just certain time zones, depending on certain places that you're in. I guess it depends on certain time zones that you're in. That certain games would you would be allowed to watch, and other games you would be unable to watch. So, in this instance, for this case, I have not been able to watch the Denver Broncos and the Pittsburgh Steelers game, but I was able to go on my ESPN app on my phone and check out the entire game, and I see that the Denver Broncos have defeated the Pittsburgh Steelers with a final score of 24-17. For this episode, I'm going to be doing something in this episode that I don't usually do. I don't do on a regular basis when I do these episodes. When I do LBFT episodes. Unlike most episodes, I'm going to be getting through an entire play-by-play section. Just every play/drive that happened in a football game. And this is going to be one of them. I don't usually do this, but I am going to do it anyway, despite being unable to watch the game. So without any further ado, let's get started. The game started with the Denver Broncos on their first drive of the game. It was a three-play drive, ended with a punt, and then the Pittsburgh Steelers get their first drive of the game, and it was a 10-play drive, and the 10-play drive ended with a field goal, and the field goal, which was a 48-yard field goal, it was blocked. It was a blocked field goal for the Pittsburgh Steelers, so nobody gets to tie the game. Then the Denver Broncos get the ball, and their drive was an 8-play drive, and their 8-play drive ends with a 41-yard field goal. Ended up being good, so the Denver Broncos were up by 3-0. The Pittsburgh Steelers then get the ball, and they had a 12-play drive, and in the middle of their 12-play drive, they called their first timeout of the game, not just in the first half, but also no, that's not right. They called their first timeout in the first half of the game. That's what I meant to say. I apologize. At 2 minutes and 56 seconds of the game. Or the first quarter, I'm in. Sorry. So their 12-play drive ends with a fumble. And yeah, it ends with a fumble. So yeah, at the third down and one at the Denver 1-yard line, at Denver's 1-yard line, which was Big Ben Roethlisberger passing short left to Grimble, I don't know his first name, and I'm not going to fool with finding out what his first name is, but his last name is Grimble, to Denver's 1 yard line for 23 yards, and it turns into a fumble, like I just said. Ball out of bounds in the end zone, which turned into touchback. So the Denver Broncos get the ball after the fumble recovery. And then they have their 7-play drive, and it ends with a punt with four in 4th down and 13. Then the Pittsburgh Steelers get the ball, and they had a 9-play drive. And their 9-play drive ends with a field goal. Ended up being good this time around. They had a missed field. The Pittsburgh Steelers got the missed field goal, and then the second try, they finally got it good. So now they're up. The Denver Broncos are up by 7, 10-3. And by the way, the Pittsburgh Steelers, what is it? Their 12-play drive. Their drive before their drive has ended. It was the end of the first quarter. I can't believe I missed that. I apologize, guys. So at the start of the second quarter, the Big Ben Roethlisberger pass short left, who Grimble to the Denver 1 yard line for 23 yards, and then fumbles the ball out of bounds in the end zone, making it a touchback. So I apologize for missing that. Anyway, moving on. So the Pittsburgh Steelers got the 9-play drive, which ended with a field goal being good, which I just said. Then we get the Denver Broncos getting their ball back. And it was a 6-play drive. And their 6-play drive ended with a touchdown. It ended with a touchdown. So we got a tie ball game once again, 10-10. Or no, I'm sorry, 10-3. I apologize. Then the Pittsburgh Steelers get their 12-play drive, get the ball, and then have their 12-play drive. Which at the middle of it, or at the end of the first half of their drive, 12-play drive, they get to 2-minute warning within a minute and 53 seconds till halftime. Then the Pittsburgh Steelers called their second timeout at 51 seconds. Their second timeout of the first half. And then they called their third and last timeout. Or wait a minute, hold on, I'm sorry, I skipped over. Denver then calls their first timeout of the first half at 28 seconds in the second quarter. Then the Pittsburgh Steelers called their third and last timeout of the first half with 3 seconds left. And then it ends with a touchdown. So the Pittsburgh Steelers were tied with the Denver Broncos at halftime, 10-10. So the first half of the game was pretty much a defensive half for the game. The first quarter, the Denver Broncos scored a field goal, and then Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm sorry. They get the field goal in the second quarter. I think I got it right. Anyway, so moving on at the end of the at the start of the third quarter, the Pittsburgh Steelers had a 4-play drive, and it ends with a punt. I think. Yep, it ends with a punt. Okay. So the Denver Broncos get the ball back, and it also it's a 5-play drive, and it also ends with a punt. So the Pittsburgh Steelers get the ball, and this time, the Pittsburgh Steelers had a one-play drive. Their one-play drive started and ended with Big Ben Roethlisberger passing to Juju Smith-Schuster for 97 yards in a touchdown reception. 97-yard touchdown for reception. That was an incredible play. That was an incredible play. Juju Smith-Schuster is off the charts. I really got to say, he was really good in that play. It was a it was a well executed play. Anyway, the Denver Broncos. So the Pittsburgh Steelers are up by 7. They were then in the lead, 17-10. So the Denver Broncos got the chance to score back and make it tie once again. But this time, the drive that they made ended up being a 3-play drive, and it ends with a punt. Then the Pittsburgh Steelers get the chance to score another touchdown, but they had a 6-play drive that ended with an interception. Big Ben Roethlisberger passed short middle intended for Antonio Brown, but was intercepted at Denver's 42-yard line. So Denver intercepted the ball, and then Denver Broncos get the 2-play drive. A two-play drive. Case Keenum passed deep right to Emmanuel Sanders to the Pittsburgh 5-yard line for 38 yards. And then this 2-play drive ends with Case Keenum passing the ball to Emmanuel Sanders for 5 yards and make it a touchdown, being tied for the 3rd time in this entire game. So the Denver Broncos are tied for the 3rd time with the Pittsburgh Steelers at 17 in the 3rd quarter. So, in the end of the third, not the end of the 3rd quarter, the Pittsburgh Steelers get the ball, and they call their 2nd timeout. Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry. There was one. I missed their first touchdown of the second half. I'm sorry. It was before the Pittsburgh Big Ben Roethlisberger's ball was intercepted at 3rd down and 3 at Denver's 47-yard line. It was before the interception happened that the Pittsburgh Steelers called their first timeout of the second half. So I apologize. I can't believe I missed that. But anyway, the Pittsburgh Steelers called their second timeout at Pittsburgh by at 4 minutes and 33 seconds in the 3rd quarter. And then it ends with a punt. And then the Denver Broncos have a 3-play drive, and it also ends with a punt. Then the Pittsburgh Steelers get the ball, and it turned into a 5-play drive. And this drive ends with Big Ben Roethlisberger passing short middle to James Conner, the running back for the Pittsburgh Steelers, to the Denver 23-yard line for 23 yards, and then fumbles the football, and Denver recovers it. Denver Broncos defense recovered the ball after the fumble. So that was a fumble recovery by the Denver Broncos defense. So that play ended. So that fumble recovery was the last play of the 3rd quarter. That was the end of the 3rd quarter. Then we get to the 4th quarter, the last quarter of the game. And we get the Denver Broncos having an 11th play drive. And this drive ends with a touchdown. Passing to Philip Lindsay, hold on. He didn't pass. It wasn't a pass. It was a running touchdown. Philip Lindsay rushed 2 yards for a touchdown, and then they get the extra point. So the Denver Broncos are were then leading 24-17. Then the Pittsburgh Steelers have the 5-play drive, and it ends with a punt. And then the Denver Broncos get a 3-play drive, and it also ends with a punt. Then we get the Pittsburgh Steelers having a 10-play drive, and the 10th play drive by the Pittsburgh Steelers ends with an interception. Now, before the interception has started, and it's actually a game-winning interception by the Denver Broncos defense, and I'll get into that in just a minute. But let's talk about something. The 2-minute warning happened within a minute and 57 seconds left in the fourth quarter, left in the game. The 2-minute warning happened before the interception happened. Now, just to give you more info on the 2-minute warning. Now, that game-winning interception that I'm now getting into, it was arguably the last play of the game for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I say that because of the interception, the game-winning interception by the Denver Broncos defense. What happened was what exactly happened was Big Ben Roethlisberger passed short middle intended for Antonio Brown, one of his receivers, and it was intercepted once again by this guy with a last name Harris at the Denver 0-yard line, at the edge of the end zone at the edge of the Denver Broncos end zone. The Pittsburgh Steelers were about to tie the score up. They were about to tie the game up at 24. They were about to score a touchdown. But Big Ben Roethlisberger made that pass, and it was intercepted at the Denver Broncos end zone, and it became a touchback. So that technically was the last play of the game. Technically, for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and then the Denver Broncos get the last possession of the game, and it was a 3-play reception. 3-play drive. The last drive of the game. Case Keenum kneels of 3 times to let the clock wind down, from 1 minute and 3 seconds to 29 seconds, and then the game is over. So basically, this is the entire play-by-play section of the Broncos Steelers game that I've given you. This is the entire play-by-play section, or depth, or chart, or whatever it is that I have given you guys. So let's get to the Denver Broncos. Starting with Case Keenum, he was all right. He completed 14 out of his 28, 15 out of his 28 passing attempts. He completed 15 out of his 28 passing attempts. Passed for nearly 200 yards, 2 passing touchdowns, QBR of 99.9, and completed 53.6% of his passes. He was relatively decent. He was fine. I will say. Philip Lindsay also was relatively decent. 14 carries, 110 yards, 1 touchdown. He was fine. Emmanuel Sanders, however, 7 receptions, 86 receiving yards, 1 touchdown. He was good. He was pretty good. He was probably the best Denver Broncos player in the entire game. So, the Denver Broncos, they were good offensively to a certain extent. And, yeah. So let's go to the Pittsburgh Steelers. He was good, despite the 3 turnovers that he made. 3 turnovers, 2 of which were interceptions, including that 1 interception near the end of the game. Though technically it was the last play of the game for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But anyway, 462 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, QBR of 88.5, and completed 73.2% of his passes. He was fine. He looked better. Based on these numbers, he looked better than Case Keenum. Let's just be real. He completed 41 out of his 56 passing attempts. He was fine. He was good, despite the 3 turnovers he made, including the 2 interceptions. And James Conner, he was fine. Oh, whatever. 13 carries, 53 rushing yards, 0 touchdowns. Just blah. Juju Smith-Schuster, though, 13 receptions, 189 receiving yards, a touchdown. This dude is impressive. That, especially that 187-yard touchdown reception from Big Ben Roethlisberger to Juju Smith-Schuster. That was a well-executed play by the Pittsburgh Steelers. And Juju Smith-Schuster, I thought, was impressive, especially that 97 touchdown reception. 97-yard touchdown reception, I mean. He was just that great. So, yeah, like I said earlier, the Denver Broncos won at home against the visiting Pittsburgh Steelers, 24-17, snapping their 6-game winning streak. I think that was their first game, or their 6-game winning streak. Either that or 5-game winning streak. I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure it was 6-game winning streak that they had. It was snapped by the Denver Broncos, snapping the Pittsburgh Steelers 6-game winning streak. That's kind of surprising. I didn't even know before I read the entire stat chart of the entire game, the entire box score of the entire game. I didn't know that this was that the Pittsburgh Steelers have won 6 straight games. I didn't even know that. That was incredibly alarming to me. I didn't think they won that much, but okay, yeah, that was cool. And then it got snapped, like I said, by the Denver Broncos. So anyway, basically based on these numbers alone, based on what I just read on my ESPN app on my phone, just based on what I saw from the numbers of this game, the Denver Broncos did well offensively, as well as the Pittsburgh Steelers, but their defenses also performed well. But unlike the Denver Broncos, the Pittsburgh Steelers are 7-3-4, are currently 7-3-4, and the Denver Broncos are 5-6, if I'm not mistaken. So let's get back to the game-winning interception by the Denver Broncos. Big Ben Roethlisberger, that was a bad throw, man. That was just a bad throw to make. especially when you were about to score the touchdown before time expired. You were about to tie the game for the fourth time, being at 24. You could have you were about to tie the game up at 24 before time expired. But that pass was just bad. It was bad in and of itself. I mean, come on. Big Ben Roethlisberger, that was just a bad throw, sir. That was just a bad throw. I mean, come on. I've seen this game-winning interception several times, not multiple times, several times, and I still consider it a bad throw by Big Ben Roethlisberger. He should not have thrown that ball in the middle. He could have at least, like, make a tricky running play, make a trick running play like he did against the Jacksonville Jaguars, who, by the way, should have won the game if they had done something in the second half of the game, as well as not get penalized, and Blake Bortles being benched, and have Cody Kessler replacing Blake Bortles. Those three things should have happened at the Jacksonville Jaguars game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Jacksonville Jaguars should have won the game. But I digress. So I look at the Pittsburgh Steelers right now, and all I can say is I don't really trust the Pittsburgh Steelers right now. I mean, I don't really trust them to. Actually, before I get into that, I want to say this. I said this on multiple occasions. I said I picked the Kansas City Chiefs to go to the AFC Championship game against the New England Patriots and beat them to go to the Super Bowl and represent the AFC. That's what I said on multiple occasions. And not only that, I also said that I don't trust the Pittsburgh Steelers to go to the AFC Championship game and beat the Patriots. I don't trust the Los Angeles Chargers to go to the AFC Championship game and beat the Patriots. I don't trust the Houston Texans to go to the AFC Championship game and beat the Patriots. We all know that's not going to happen. We all know that's not going to be the case if Houston goes to the AFC Championship game against the Patriots. We all know who's going to win that. It's not going to be Houston, if that ever happens. But again, I digress. I didn't trust the Pittsburgh Steelers to go to the AFC Championship game and go up against the Patriots. I didn't find myself seeing that more often happening based on what I'm seeing from the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, again, I've seen them very early on in the season, and I didn't really think that they would, and I don't really think they would go to the AFC Championship game to face the Patriots and beat them. I don't see that happening. And this is yet another example of why that is the case, of why I don't trust the Pittsburgh Steelers to go to the AFC Championship game against the Patriots or the Kansas City Chiefs. Just either one of those two teams. I don't see the Pittsburgh Steelers win against any one of those two teams, the Chiefs or the Patriots. I don't see that happening. And again, this is yet another example of why. Because of how they looked in this game. Because of this game. That's the reason why I didn't even trust them to go to the AFC Championship to begin with. But this is yet another example of why I don't. Why I'm not picking them to go to the AFC Championship game to go and face the Patriots and then go to the Super Bowl. I don't see that happening at all. I do pick them to go to the playoffs, but I didn't pick them to go to the AFC Championship game, and I'm still not picking them to go to the AFC Championship game. Until that happens, there has not been a single game that I have seen from the Pittsburgh Steelers that has led me to believe that they are a very potent, exhilarate, and the team, a force to be reckoned with. Just a team that has led me to believe that they are going to the AFC Championship game and win that. I don't see that happening. There's not been a single game that I have seen from the Pittsburgh Steelers that has convinced me to believe that they're going to do that they're going to get that job done. I don't see that. I haven't seen any game like that. The only games that I can see the Pittsburgh Steelers having the potential to go to the AFC Championship game is 2 games, actually. Their home game, the Pittsburgh Steelers' home game against the Los Angeles Chargers, and their Week 14 matchup on the road against the New Orleans Saints. Those are the only 2 games where I can see the Pittsburgh, that I can potentially see the Pittsburgh Steelers having a chance to go to the AFC Championship game and beat the Patriots. And if they don't win one of those 2 games, or both of these 2 games, what's the point of having to pick the Pittsburgh Steelers to go to the AFC Championship game against either the Chiefs or the Patriots? What's the point of that if they don't win 2 of those games, one against the Chargers and the other against the Saints? If they don't win both of those games, they're not going to the AFC Championship game. They have to beat two of those teams in order to be in the race or be in the whole conversation of them going to the AFC Championship game, being part of the conversation. They have to win 2 of those games, or they're not going to compete against the Chiefs or the Patriots in the AFC title game. It's just that simple. Anyway, guys, those are my thoughts on the Pittsburgh Steelers Denver Broncos game. Particularly the Denver Broncos 24-17 victory at home over the visiting Pittsburgh Steelers led by Big Ben Roethlisberger. If you guys enjoyed this episode, please click the like button, and if you have already watched this game, comment below and let me know what you think of it. Did you think that the Denver Broncos won the game, or did you think that the Pittsburgh Steelers lost the game? And also, what chances would you give the Pittsburgh Steelers to go to the AFC Championship game? How much chances will you give them? Let me know in the comment section below and explain to me why you would or wouldn't give them any chance to go to the AFC Championship game. Anyway, that is it. If you enjoy what you've seen here and you want to see future episodes of LBFT from me, please press the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so that you never miss an episode of LBFT. I will see you guys in the next episode of LBFT or a new non-LBFT video. Have a great week, Battle Squad, and as always, fight the good fight.